Welcome to XConnectTV. My name is Karim Kanji. Thank you so much for joining us. If you're watching this on YouTube, please make sure that you subscribe to our channel, XConnectTV. Give this video a thumbs up, leave comments. We really appreciate those. You can also follow us on Twitter at XConnectTO, and we're also on Facebook.com/XConnectTO. I'm very excited to be bringing to all of you a good friend of mine, known for a couple of years now, the CEO and co-founder of Epilogger.com, Michael Nussbacher. How you doing?
Good, how you doing, Karim?
Good, good. First time I've called you by your full last name.
Yeah, it's a big revelation that Michael Nuss is short from this.
For something, yeah. But no, I'm glad to be speaking with you. In fact, last week we spoke with HealthAware.ca, so I'm happy to be speaking to somebody else that has graduated from Founder Fuel. And I actually wanted to ask you about your experience at Founder Fuel, and really, would you recommend that for startups?
Yeah, I mean, the thing about Founder Fuel, and I would even say almost any accelerator, but Founder Fuel for me, since I was there, is all the great things we think about it, it's all hindsight.
Okay.
Going through it, you go through, you kind of come in up here and
Yeah.
down to the valley of death, and then hopefully.
So you're very excited, and then they kind of strip you down.
Well, you just find that. I mean, you kind of go in and you think you have it all figured out, and you don't. And I think part of the reason going to Accelerator is to not just accelerate the success of the company, also accelerate the failure of your company, or the failure of your certain assumptions of a certain idea you might have had.
Okay.
So imagine you could be like bark up the wrong tree for 12 months on your own power, but you go to this accelerator and they'll tell you right away to bark up the wrong tree. You've got their experience to back it up.
Okay.
And of course, it's not easy hearing that. So
Sure.
and you're like, well, crap, what do I do? And so you fix that and you go back up, and then come demo day, hopefully you end up higher than you
End
get.
up at the top.
So, but going through it, I think part of the experience is definitely humbling yourself, I would say. So, and what I think what tends to happen with a lot of people who name themselves CEO or start a company, they're very proud.
Of course.
And you should be.
Yeah.
Because you're going into a very difficult life, a difficult world. Running a startup, as you probably experience, is not a piece of cake. It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
And when you go in, they tell you, well, you need to do even more work. You're like, oh. So you go in there, and what tends to happen, some people treat this like they kind of get a bit, what's the word, rebellious, because they feel like they're being taught by teachers. But actually, these are businessmen, and they tell you, this is your business. At the end of the day, you make your decisions.
Yeah.
But we're going to give you the best advice we can, because we've been through this. The one that's Founder Fuel. What's really great about Founder Fuel is that everybody there has exited companies. They've sold. Now they're investors, because they've been through all that stuff. Now they want to invest instead. And because of that, they're savvy to know which companies are the ones we're investing in.
Interesting.
And considering that they'll make these intros for you. If someone makes the intro, they're putting their neck out for you. So if they make an intro, they believe in you, which is a fantastic thing. So I mean, but going through it, of course, it's a tough grind, but at the end, it's, you go through this harrowing experience, and you feel so proud you made it. Yeah. And then they give you that. I'm not wearing it today. That hoodie, the Founder Fuel graduation hoodie that everybody gets, and it's actually a very nice hoodie. And it's even nicer because this is like it's almost like if you finish the PGA Tour, they give you a green jacket. Yeah. Here you get the gray Founder Fuel hoodie, so it's good.
Excellent. Would you say that Epilogger is further along today and closer to reaching the goals that you and your team have set out for it by going through Founder Fuel than if you hadn't?
I would say actually just straight up yes. I think that because the one thing with the Accelerator as an experience and a program is it's 3 months and then putting obstacles in front of you that you need to deal with that you might not have had to deal with or even be able to put off. Had you not go through the Accelerator. And this time they're saying, no, here they are, here's the problems, and you're going to go right through it, start doing business dev, at the pace within 3-month time frames, or accelerated. Yeah. And I think that Epilogger, going through that, it really helped us a lot, because all of a sudden you see all this stuff coming at you, and you have to adapt to deal with it. Always means a pivot of some kind. Yeah. Some companies completely pivoted, 360 degrees pivot. Yeah. We made a major pivot. Within Epilogger, where before we were more like, so we were looking at Epilogger as more like a tool for reporting and listening, and that just wasn't where our hearts were. And what we saw people were being excited about this is an experience for people to use, like everybody to be using.
Okay.
Here's a conference. Here's an event that we're at. We want to be part. We want to see all the pictures, meet new people, share, engage, and submit more content as an experience. We're like, wow, okay, I guess we got to build a mobile app now. Yeah. So we're going to build a mobile app. Actually, we're doing it right now. So.
Excellent. Good. So let's take some steps back now.
Sure.
And talk about the genesis of this idea of Epilogger. What was happening in your life, in your business partners' lives, that you guys said, you know what, we need to create a tool?
So what was happening, so I was still working in the admin industry, and Chris was working for quite some time as a lead developer.
Chris is your co-founder?
Chris Brooker, yeah. So Chris Brooker, my co-founder, he was working as a developer. He's a great developer. And we were also both bloggers. Okay. So I do a lot of blogging. And because of the blogging thing, we get invited to a lot of events. And I guess the more events we go to, and Chris is also a blogger, we notice the same things keep happening over and over again. People will be at events and they'll be experiencing it, but also doing this. Taking pictures of things and sharing it. And stats start to show that actually 60% of all photos taken are now shared online through social media. Yeah. We're like, something's happening here. People are now people are social animals, and they want to remember what they did in some way. I mean, the whole photography industry is being based on the fact that people want to remember what they're doing, or even show their excitement for something coming up. We're like, there's got to be a way but to get it all in one place, because people use Twitter, or they'll go on Instagram, or Facebook, or Foursquare, and it's like 4 or 5 different platforms.
A lot of places to go to get information on just one event.
Right, it's one event, but all these different platforms. Yeah. Which means the experience is fragmented everywhere. It's all over the place. You can try searching Google, it won't find the content, because not everyone's good at SEO. True. So you might have a fantastic picture on a great blog. You're not going to find it. Yeah. And Twitter too. It doesn't really search specific tweets unless we reach people a lot. Yeah. So you might get some small little tidbits of something, but it doesn't really get it. Can't there be a way to get it all in place? And there wasn't. So we're like, we should do this. Yeah. Because we get invited to these events, and if it was a PR company, for example, they always email you the next day, so do you have any pictures? Or they ask the media for this stuff, and it'd be this long process of doing that. And a lot of times people just wouldn't answer the email. Some poor intern trying to find it all. Yeah. I'm like, well, let's make people's lives a little easier. Let's make our lives easier. And also, at the same time, make our mark in history by saying we're part of something awesome. One thing we found is, like, you might tweet, a couple times a day on a general basis, but when you go to an event, say XConnect. Sure. Everyone, like EduConnect. Yeah. I love MusicConnect personally. Yeah. And thanks for wearing the t-shirt often. That's actually one of my go-to shirts. Nice. I love music, so kids have it. Anyway, so when you're at the event, people tend to tweet a whole lot more. Like, if I was to take your Twitter, if I was to take your Twitter habits and show a graph, I would guarantee that during an event it will spike. Yeah. Or even leading up to an event. Sure. And that's where the content starts being created. People become content creators when they're at something because they have something to do. Take a picture of something, write a blog about something, check into somewhere, because they want to matter and they want to count. And they want to say, hey, I was at this event with Karim. And I also want people who aren't there to discover it too. And all that wasn't being done. Like, okay, well, let's build out Epilogger. People who now discover events, even those who weren't at the event. Or people who would like to look into it or see if they want to go. So we know that's the before. The during, of course, is huge, media bonanza. And it's trending in front of Epilogger. People will be like, oh, cool, I don't know what this thing is, but it's on the front page. I should check it out. Yeah. And of course, after, people are like, hey, that's amazing. Then they can actually save their favorite parts of the event, whether it's their content or other people's content. So I really love that top picture of Tupac being resurrected at Coachella. Put that in my album, share it with Karim. Karim says, that's awesome. Here's some pictures I like. Here's a shared album we can share to our friends and have this collect this crap. Interesting. So from that idea, when you and Chris said we got to create this platform or repository, online repository of all these things, whether it's people's photos or tweets and check-ins. From that idea stage to having the first prototype, how long did that take, and what sort of challenges were there? So one of the main challenges at the beginning part of it was just, so we had this idea, so this idea came to us, and we talked about it on Gmail, through GChat, and had these conversations about, the idea was there, we knew the problem, but how to solve it was the difficult part. Yeah. And we just kept, grinding on it, and then one of the events we went to, it just hit us like, wow. So this PR company had invited all these people to this event, and rented the entirety of beer market out, and invited the media, flew in some monks. There's a whole story about that.
Interesting.
If you look for Michael News and monks on
I'll check it out.
You'll see me wearing a monk's habit, and people were, again, doing the picture thing. And like, how are we going to remember all this? And that was it. We left, we went to a second cup, back in the napkin, and then finally sketched out Epilogger on how it would work the first version.
How did that name come about, Epilogger?
So Epilogger is a portmanteau of the word epic and logger or blogger.
Blogger.
So together it's something that's, it takes something that's epic and awesome and logs it.
There you go.
And the way we did that, we went through so many names. The naming process. If we had started Epilogger 20 years ago, we would have been easy getting naming one. We could have called it anything.
Sure.
But we're now in a very web-connected world. Plus, I don't think Epilogger couldn't exist 20 years ago. It wouldn't be the same. And we cut a bunch of names up and words up and put together and finally found Epilogger.
What makes sense? What sounds nice?
What sounds nice, but also
what URL is available?
Well, the second we got it, we're at the table having beer and pizza, and the second we thought up, Chris pulls his iPhone up, he just bought all the domains, the .net, the .com, the .ca, all that stuff.
Nice.
Because we had gone through weeks and weeks of names where we'd get the name, and of course the squatter would just finally get the name they'd buy. So,
true. Yeah. Now I remember at the beginning you guys had a tag name. It was we remember for you, or we'll remember for you.
Yeah.
So I don't see that anymore on the front page, epilogger.com.
Yeah.
Is that on purpose? Are you trying to change the way people are using your platform?
So that's part of the pivot, actually.
Okay.
So going through Founder Field, we realized that Epilogger is not just about the after; it's about the before and the during. Now, Epilogger can actually start collecting things before the event even begins and get the whole lead up. And we found statistically that the better the lead up to the event, the bigger the event goes. And then after the event, there's more content that gets put in there.
Sure.
And that after becomes part of the next lead up, which makes the next conference or event or whatever is grow even bigger. So the big question we answer is, one of the big questions anyway, is how do you grow an event? You can, so let's say I had an event that takes 800 people and they sell it out. That's great and all, but how do we get more people to come next time? How do we grow this idea, whether it's an event or a movement? Well, you tell people about it who weren't there. You basically create virtual seats. So even though it's sold out, if somebody wants to keep track of what's going on,
here's a place that they can do it. How simple, how easy, how difficult is it to now start working with other platforms? So you pull in the Twitter API. How difficult is not not necessarily making the call and having that happen, but making sure that all the data that you're pulling in is actually reliable. So whether it's from Twitter or you guys are pulling in Foursquare as well. What other platforms are you also pulling in from?
Right now we have Instagram, Plexi, YFrog, and Lockers, and all those, pretty much all those photo platforms. Twitter, of course, Foursquare, also general links and blogs come in as well. We are very, very, very soon adding the ability to pull things in from Facebook, Facebook pages, and also the ability to upload from Facebook and upload from Flickr. We just finished coding a video parsing tool, which actually finds whatever was linked out with a video. If it's a video, it brings it into the system, and there's a video that plays.
Very nice. And so the actual pulling in, the automated part, how reliable is that, depending upon these third parties?
It's fairly reliable. Basically, the way we do it is that you can hashtags, of course. That's the obvious one. People can use hashtags, but we also can actually do full Boolean searches, delimiters, and just phrases that might come. For example, let's say it's like XConnect and Toronto, or it could be, ING Direct Toronto within a certain date range on this certain day. We know it's not just from some other day. Because the ING thing is 24/7, but it's every day. So what's happening between those times that are having to do with this event, right? So time and place, phrases, keywords, and hashtags.
And one of the most important things, going into Founder Fuel and leaving is trying to figure out how you could raise a round to help finance the building of the product. What was that experience like prior to Founder Fuel?
Yeah, prior to Founder Fuel, I think that raising a round, It was a little more difficult, not necessarily because it was hard to get to talk to investors so much, but more that without something like that behind you, the valuations were a little trickier. So I think that when you want to raise a round, you want to make sure it's a round that you can live with, and that lets you do what you want to do, and gives you keeps the steering wheel in your hand. And if you're giving up too much, I think sometimes, then you tend to lose control of what you're trying to do, and then the money's not the best. Going through founder fuel, that tells investors that you actually know what you're doing to a greater extent. Like, I can tell you with great honesty that I thought I knew what I was doing going to founder fuel. Yeah. I didn't know jack. So,
compared, right? When you compare.
In comparison, I didn't know jack. Now, coming out now, I can actually safely say that I can actually seriously run a business. And that's they teach you not how to run a business in the tech world, but also how to, even the between the lines kind of stuff that happens. Like, talk to investors. There's a certain way of doing that. In the decorum, there are certain things you just don't say. Like, for example, like if you ever go to an investor and since I'm an NDA, they look at you like you're out of your mind. Because if you imagine how many people they see a day, if they sign an NDA to everybody, they'd be legally bound by everybody in the world. So it just doesn't make sense. And just sort of things about the pitch deck. Like, for example, that's such an important thing. Demo day is pretty much your pitch deck. Every single one of the teams going in, I thought they had a great pitch deck on day one, and when we looked at it, 9, 10 weeks later, we were laughing at ourselves how bad they were. So bad. like university point PowerPoint crap compared to something that was really good and memorized and slick and sharp. So it's just one of those things, like, you just can't believe how clueless you were going in. And I think that a lot of startups, especially now, there's a trend towards first-time entrepreneurs. I think they can really benefit from an accelerator. So I think it's definitely worth the time going out there.
Nice.
But it's a big risk too, because there are people who move to Montreal, quit their jobs, get a small investment in their company, and the risk is that let's say if they don't really take everything they can from the program, they might not do so well, and all of a sudden their business is not doing, it's not working out, and it's back to working for the man.
Back to square one.
Back to square one. So the double-edged sword is that it can really light a fire under your butt. I'm not going to swear because this is your show. Sure. But you also get burned if you don't realize there's fire under your butt. So you have to really go in there. You have to play it with. Go in there and listen, man. They will tell you stuff. Listen and be humble with it. I came in there with an ego like this.
Was it scary?
Oh yeah.
Scary in terms of one of the things that I'm curious about is you've been I guess in business for yourself. You've done a lot of consulting, that sort of stuff. But really, this according to LinkedIn, this is really your first company that you're actually building. And correct me if I'm wrong. And so is it do you go and say, my goodness, these guys are this is the first thing I'm building. They're going to tell me, man, you haven't done anything. You're Jack. You're and were you scared that you were going to be not this, man, these guys are going to find out who I really am, but was it scary actually bearing yourself?
I don't think that. I think they're fairly aware of that. A lot of these people are first-time entrepreneurs. A lot of the guys who are in the program are really young. Yeah. So I don't think any of them really built a company before it's because they're so damn young. Sure. I had built companies before, but I was never the CEO of a company. Okay. So I've helped build companies. People have thought I was the CEO of the companies I built. Yeah. But I wasn't. Yeah. And there's one difference, the one main difference between you can build a company and do all the stuff that CEOs does, except when you're the CEO, the actual CEO, people depend on you. Yeah. So imagine I went out as a CEO and I didn't make any business and I just went to conferences and just whatever and just couldn't raise money. There are people who depend on me. That's their paycheck. If I don't do well, they don't eat. Yeah, it's not just you that doesn't eat, but other people aren't going to eat. Right, so I could be right below the CEO of another company. So before I was working directly with the CEO, founder shares and everything, but he was the one who had to raise the money. Yeah. I did everything else other than raising money. Yeah. So it was easy. Sure. I still have to sell it. Fair enough. Fair enough. So even when I went to Founder Fuel, I didn't tell my team, you guys are coming to Founder Fuel. Guys, this is totally up to you. I can go, but this is a big sacrifice. And if it's up to you. And we made the sacrifice, and we came out looking good. Nice. But is it scary? Absolutely. You can go through, especially when you're in that valley part I mentioned earlier. When you're there, you're like, oh my God, I might come out of this thing, we're here for 3 months, and we might fail.
Wow.
So you could fail. And failing is scary, but it's also very instructive. When you're at the valley of death, you're basically, you can look at yourself as a failed company. So what can you do out of the ashes of that to grow something amazing? And sometimes you've got to hit rock bottom and work it back up.
Yeah, interesting. Did you find, one of the things that I heard about was that there's some companies that go there and they come back and it's like, the name is different, what they're offering is totally different, not that they've pivoted a little bit, but it's like, they threw everything in the garbage and started something brand new.
Yeah.
Were there examples of that?
There are two of those.
Wow.
2 complete pivots and 1 name change. So 2 name changes, so there are 2 pivots. 1 pivot kept the name but changed the company 100%.
Yeah.
Another one changed the name and the company, so a completely different thing, like not even close to it before. And another one changed many of the core offerings of their product, but changed their name to something that was a little more, the name was more literal to what they would do.
Interesting. So now you're back in Toronto for the past month and a bit, I believe.
It hasn't been a month yet. Oh, it's been a month and a day.
A month and a day. See, so I was right, a month and a bit.
Yeah.
You've approached investors. You've gotten some funding. I don't know if you're allowed to say how much that you received, but have you raised any, and how much have you raised if you're allowed?
We've raised quite a good piece of it, so we're in a good spot.
Fantastic. So I'm not going to then poke you and ask you more because you've given that answer. What's next for Epilogger? What are the next stages? What are you guys looking to do?
Next stages is that we are partnered with the International Startup Festival. We're a big partner with them. We are now building and we'll be launching a mobile app in end of July. Okay. It's going to drop big.
iOS?
iOS.
Okay.
Of course. I'm a new iPhone user and I love it. So, that's the next big thing there. We have some interesting partnerships with certain sports applications that we're doing.
Fantastic.
Hockey. And kind of exciting things coming forward. And we just, actually this week's been pretty crazy. It's only Tuesday. Nice. So a lot of things coming forward. Some partnerships we're going to be doing, adding some major new features. That Membox feature will be in Epilogger, so it lets you share things. Also the ability to use Epilogger is one platform to just, for community managers, for example, just to be able to tweet from Epilogger, which you can't already, but just like, you can reply and retweet, but also the ability just to send a new tweet. And we'll already know it's the same event and hashtag it, and we'll put a link back to the event. So people, what's really cool is because you send out a tweet, and it'll bring people back to that Epilogger page and have them re-engage with that content, and all of a sudden you get this growing community.
Interesting. Yeah. I'm wondering if you can share a little bit, as we end off here, a little bit about plans down the road outside of, funding your plans for monetizing the service.
Yeah, so I mean, although we've pivoted to focus on the consumer, which is basically the consumer is another word for someone who doesn't pay. Okay. So the consumer being just everybody who've used it, this free, cool, social app. We also know that by doing so, and numbers are showing that we're actually creating communities online for whatever the event is. And we're creating this one place to go, which means we have a captive audience. It's almost like, when you go to the bathroom and they put like a sign over the urinal, you're not moving, we're going anywhere. Yeah. Whatever they're showing you, that's where you
gotta stay.
With Epilogger, the fact that people keep checking back all the time to see what's the newest stuff, and they want to comment on stuff, and they don't have to go to 7 different things to see one event. It's all in place. People stay at our site for long periods of time. On average, people stay on Epilogger 4.5 minutes to 5 minutes at a time, which is an eternity, as you know, in this business. So, with that ability, event planners can go take logistic force work and take control of the event, and they can moderate. They can put their event sponsors on there. They can embed Epilogger. Basically, and also get some really cool reports which they're building in right now. Yeah. And infographics, and those are the features that they can use for a paid fee. Okay. So that's stage 1. Yeah. Stage 2 is something we call the sponsorship matchmaking model, where people can now get sponsors for their events. Anybody, it doesn't have to be big of a case. Even XConnect, for example. Sure. For sponsors that are, or brands that are interested in that category of events, have them pay for Epilogger usage for you. Interesting. Yeah. So basically, you want all the cool reports that the big boys get, and we'll let Coca-Cola pay for it for you. Looking forward to that. I know you are. Very nice. Very nice. Listen, Mike, thanks so much for taking the time to chat. I know you guys are very, very busy. All the best to Chris, yourself, and the rest of your team that's helping out. And we look forward to some more. Where can people, keep track of what's going on in your life online? In my life?
Whether it's your life or whether it's your life with Epilogger.
There's always a blog at epilogger.com. There's epilogger.com itself to see what's going on.
Fantastic.
michaelnuss.com is always a good place where when I can write about my rantings and ravings about all kinds of land things. And then, of course, it's always Twitter.
Nice. You guys looking for any developers or any front-end guys?
Yeah,
any designers?
Looking for some front-end developers. If you're a C# bad boy, come on, we want you.
And then jobs at epilogger.com or?
I will set that up today.
Okay.
So, but it's usually info at Epilogger.
Info at epilogger.com. So, front-end designer C#?
Front-end developer
Front-end
C#.
developer C#.
And maybe one junior designer too.
Fantastic. All the best. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks, Karim.
Thank you for joining us. Again, my name is Karim Kanji. You can find me on Twitter at Karim Kanji. And please go to Twitter for XConnect at XConnectTV, Facebook.com/XConnectTV. YouTube channel is YouTube.com/XConnectTV. And you can go to our blog for everything, XConnectTV.com. Thank you. Have a great day.